Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about shocking truths of early retirement, and we're going to start out right out of the gate with the fact that you are going to save money. I know that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're just going to end up spending so much money, especially traveling around the world. But you are really going to find that it's cheaper to live when you don't have to spend money on gas. You don't have to spend money on, cars and the repairs, and just the fact that you can, move around cheaper, live cheaply in less expensive places, and also you'll have more time to actually cook your food.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like we thought of when we were trying to decide if you were going to get a job one year, and we looked at it and the money that it was going to pay was going to be offset because we were making all of our meals and we're going to need to get a second car, and it was like we're going to have to spend so much money just to have an income that's going to take up most of the money that we made. So the same is true of retirement. You end up wasting so much money while you're working because you're eating out more and you're driving and you're having to buy supplies and all these things that end up happening. You will save money, not to mention the fact that the freedom that you have to go wherever you want. You can go where it's actually cheap. You can go when you want to go. You can go when it's cheap. That is going to save you a ton of money. So that's been kind of shocking to us. We didn't think, we set our budget. Our budget is $4,000 a month. And we spent way more than that in Atlanta when we were working and living there. It was more like $8,000 a month. So we cut our budget in half when we did this. And shockingly, we barely ever go over the 4,000. And that includes flights, traveling all over the world. So you will save a ton of money. And we're not living cheaply where we go.
No, this isn't entirely budget travel. I mean, we use a little bit of, points and things like that, but, point redemptions and award nights, with hotels, but we're still staying at pretty nice places and doing a lot of really fun things.
Yeah. Second shocking truth is that you will want to do something to stay relevant. And that is something that we hear over and over and over again as we talk to retirees. They either are doing something that they picked up after a year or two, or they all say they want to do something, they should do something. Inevitably, the conversation when we're talking over dinner with other people that we meet, because you meet tons of people in the elevator, they see you're American, they're going to say, for some reason Americans talk in elevators, and it's like, if we get in an elevator and there's another American, they'd be like, where are you from? We're like, well, we're from Atlanta. And then like 20 minutes later, we're having dinner. So you will make a lot of friends, but we end up talking about that, and the conversation comes to the fact that we do YouTube, and they always say, oh yeah, I want to do that. I should start doing that. And because they realize that it's not just about sitting on the beach or golfing. They want something to keep them active, their mind active, and to have some relevance to share with other people.
Exactly. I think, the thought is, this is kind of like when you're like a teenager and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to be an adult and I want to do all the adult stuff. This is the adult version of that, in that you're an adult and you're working and you're doing all those things that you wanted to do when you were in high school, and then all of a sudden you're like, I wish I could go back to that, and this is it. But you get so much time on your hands that you end up bored, and you find that you kind of start slipping out of, the relevance in society. And this really does help a lot. And it's not like, you're just like getting this big rush or something off of it, but it's just that being involved in, in what's going on, and, just really helping people out in the process as well, which is a pretty big thing for us because, we've helped people out a lot as we've gone along in life, and it's something that's kind of written into our DNA. And this is something that we can do. We can share the information that we have through our YouTube channels, and just find that that's really such a great way to do that through YouTube, because not only are you able to share and give back, but somehow you also make a bunch of money at it too.
Yeah.
You get paid a lot, to do that if you're doing things right. We put together a course about it in order to, again, share more about that to help people, especially people in our age range, to be able to do YouTube and to, kind of share all of the knowledge that we have of the process of all of the channels that we've launched on YouTube.
Yeah, and if you're in the retiree age, it is the best age range to be doing YouTube. You will make the most money in that range, and it's just easily the best time of life to be a YouTuber. So that makes it good. There was a study put out recently of people, and we're going to talk about the UK, Germany, Hong Kong, Japan, Canada, and the US. And 70% of people in the US said they do plan to work part-time in retirement. And that's pretty level across the world here. Germany coming in at 59%. They're not going to work as much apparently. Canadians, you guys, we got a lot of Canadian viewers. 74%, that was the highest of Canadians are planning to work a little bit in retirement. So it's not uncommon. It's basically something that most people will end up doing. And kind of with that relevance thing too is you often hear people say, oh, I don't want to retire. I love my job. And it's not so much that people love their jobs, we don't think. It's that they love the relevance that their job gives them. They don't love getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. to go, and they don't love every single task. But what they do love is the recognition. They love the camaraderie of their people that they work with, and they love being somebody somewhere. And so when you take that all away, you can get that back just by starting something like this and having something that you do. Jumping on to number 3 here, and that's an important one, is that what you do will really only matter to you. Your friends and your family really won't care that much at the end of the day what you end up doing, so don't base any decisions off of what they might think.
Yeah, I think in the decision-making process, you're like, oh, well, like, what will this person think and that person think? And you can ask them their opinion, but really at the end of the day, it's not going to matter too much. It's not that they don't care about you. They just aren't going to care that much about what you are doing. So there is a distinction between those two things. It's not like your friends and family won't care about you personally. They'll still care about you and love you. It's just they won't necessarily be hinged on what it is that you're doing day by day.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments from friends like, oh, how's South Korea? Like, I don't know, I've never been there, but I am in Japan. So it's like they know we're traveling a lot of times. They don't exactly keep up with it on the day-to-day, and I don't expect them to. Like, I don't know what they're doing on a daily basis, so why would I expect them to know what I'm doing on a daily basis? Like, we move around a lot. So that's the thing. But we run into a few people who have said, oh, I'm really disappointed because no one has come to visit me. And well, you're in Japan. It's like it's a hard ask to get someone. So just don't feel like everyone's gonna flock to you once you retire and do this and just be like you're gonna be the center of attention. Make decisions based on things that you actually want to do, and you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble and heartache. And like she said, people still care about you. They just don't care about the daily thing that's going on every single day. So if you have things you want to do, again, if you want to put that out there on YouTube, there will be people that care because they actually want to know what you're doing because they're thinking of doing that exact same thing. We have so many people that say, oh, tell me about that hotel you're in Japan because I want to go there. I'm going next week. That makes you feel really relevant, whereas someone of your friends back home, they may never be planning to go to Japan. They don't really care about the hotel that you're in. They just care that you're you and you're doing fine. So that's important. The next one is that there is no one path to retirement. You can be told there's one path. There's multiple paths. And so you need to think with your own situation in mind, take what others have done and adapt that.
Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of people get bogged down. We've done a couple other videos here on the channel, in this vein, and there just is no one way to do your retirement, especially if you're doing early retirement and, traveling full time like we do. There's no one thing, and just know that you can retire early if you want to, or you cannot. You can retire at a different time, or retire right on time, according to what you've been told. Or you can travel full time, or you can travel part time, or there's just so many choices. You just have to take your own situation into account and decide what is going to work for you.
Yeah. Next one, this is shocking, is that there will be those who question your every single move, but understand that they are really questioning themselves. If you are doing something amazing and they are not doing it, their natural tendency is to try to poke a hole in what you're doing, and they're going to do that with irrational arguments that don't even make sense. They'll say stuff like, well, and this is comments we get on YouTube is like, they'll say, well, that sounds great, but I would never want to live in a hut in Cambodia. Well, we've never been to Cambodia and we've never lived in a hut, although that does sound kind of fun. But they'll just take like what you're doing and they'll condense it down into something that's not actually what you're doing, and then make it try to sound bad because it's not what they're doing, and in their head, if it's better than what they're doing, then they've somehow failed and they can't compute that. So know that there's tons of things that everybody's doing, but people will try to say what you're doing is not good.
Exactly. I think that's the thing, is people are a lot of times people are operating out of fear too, their own fear.
Yeah.
And they take that and project it towards, what you're doing. And you just have to kind of take that into account. We do always, like Rep said, when we see the comments and stuff, it's like, obviously this person is operating out of a fear or a concern that they have for themselves and projecting it onto what we're doing, and that's okay. You just kind of move on with your day, but just know that that is going to happen.
Yeah.
And just kind of mentally be prepared for just why it is that you're doing what you're doing. You don't necessarily have to explain that why to somebody else, but just know for yourself, because that's actually going to get you past the people who are doing all of the questioning. And it could be people that it's not just random people online. It could be people that that are like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Why would you go there? This is gonna happen, you'll be back in a year with dysentery, just like like, what, are you crazy? Like, what if something happens? What if you run out of money? There's so many things that people have said to us over the years, and we're just like, what?
Yeah, and they have no understanding of what you're doing or where you're going. Like, have you seen the places that we're going to? It's like, take a second and look at some of these places, or look at some of the healthcare. A lot of it stems from healthcare. Like, well, what if this happens? Like, well, okay, I'm going to take it you did not see the video where Allie had major surgery in Malaysia several months ago, and it was amazing. And the whole thing cost $4,000 for, I think you were in the hospital 4 nights, major surgery, all in.
All tests, everything included, doctor, prescription, post-op visits, everything was included, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. Exceeded the expectations I already had, which were pretty high because I did my research, and it just exceeded my expectations. And who goes around town saying they had a great hospital stay? Me.
So yeah, we did have even friends and family saying, oh, you're making a bad move here because of the healthcare. People, but how did they know? They'd never been to Malaysia before, so what would they even know of the situation? We did our research. We looked at other people like us that were doing what we were doing. We found out what the truth was, and then we made our decision to go do it. That's all you have to keep in mind. There will be tons of people who want to sway you off of your path because of their fear or their feeling that they're missing something. Don't let that stop you. That's what we're trying to get across here. Number 6 is opportunities you never dreamed of will be presented to you.
Absolutely. So many things have popped up on the radar for us along the way. Even this, our YouTube, we never imagined it was going to be, this big, and that this many people would be so interested and invested in the information that we had to share of what we've learned along the way. We've been doing this for over 6 years now, going on to 7, and it's just amazing what these different opportunities is you'll be presented with. We actually we've had opportunities to be. They did a story on us on Lonely Planet. We were featured on the CBS Evening News with Nora. Just so many things like that we're like, oh wow, like CBS Evening News wants to interview us. Is this a joke? Like, is this a real email? Just because we get so many different offers for things, and it's like, this is real. This is the actual producer of the show is actually emailing us. So just stuff like that is just super interesting and just makes things fun along the way.
Yeah, even in Vietnam, we were there last year, and somebody there somehow found out that I was a photographer, and they asked us to come speak, or asked me to come speak at a photography, I don't know what you call it, but it was...
I think like society, like
yeah.
It's run by the government, but it's like a photography, like association.
So I went there and did a presentation, and you'd just be shocked at like what things of your life are going to pop up in weird situations, and so that was really cool, and got to meet a lot of cool people and find out a lot of interesting things. So you never know what's going to happen. Like when we were in Atlanta living our normal life, it was like we knew what was going to happen every day. It was like, we're going to do this. We're going to go to the Mall of Georgia and eat dinner. I'm going to come home. That's what's going to be the weekend. Here, it's like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. Things. Last night we went out walking around, and we're in Yokohama, Japan, and we ended up in a German street market. And the next thing you know, we're eating, German pretzels. Yeah. In the middle of Japan, randomly.
Everything was German, but it was all in Japanese.
And they spoke English to us, which made it even more complicated. We were like, wait, what?
So yeah, you never know what's going to happen. 7 is you won't need stuff as much as you used to. Sometimes we substitute buying things to replace things that we wanted to do to make us happy. And once you can do those things, you will probably find that you buy less stuff. I know we found that when we were working our jobs, we'd get kind of some money, be like, oh, well, let me buy this thing. Because what we really wanted to do was go somewhere and do something. But because of the job, we couldn't. So it's kind of like a secondary treat to yourself. But now that we can go do whatever we want, we find that we don't buy stuff as much.
Yeah, and even like if we go to the mall or something and we're looking around, we're never like, ooh, I should get this. No, it's just we only buy things when we have to replace something else that is broken, or is out of, like, we've overused, like a shirt, or something gets a tear in it or whatever. Then you get some new ones. I got some holes in my socks the other day, had to replace those, that kind of stuff. But otherwise, you're not really finding yourself spending so much money. And this goes back to the first one, where it does save you money because you end up not spending all that extra money on like stuff that you don't need anyways.
Yeah, and another one here is that your perspective is going to change. When you're surrounded by other Americans who are all making $100,000 a year, you're going to think like them, and you do think like them without even realizing it. But when you're surrounded by other retirees and foreigners, you'll start to think like them instead. And this has definitely happened to us. We have found that when we first started visiting places, we thought like we used to think, and now we think vastly differently because we've met so many people and they just do things differently that it's like it saves us so much money because our thinking has really pared down to where we would used to have gone out to some super fancy restaurant or something and spent a lot of money. Now we're more thinking like a local or like local expats, and it's not that it's better or worse, it's just that it's what you do, and it saves you so much money, and your perspective has just changed.
Yeah, and you don't feel a need to like try to impress anybody. Like it's just so much more relaxed and less complicated, really, overall. Like you mentioned earlier, we meet a lot of people as we're traveling, other people kind of like us or in this vein. And we end up going to dinner with people and just building relationships as we go along, like naturally. And it's just been so interesting to kind of learn from other people as well and just know, like, okay, well, we're not crazy. There's a ton of other people apparently doing this too. And it's just something that everybody makes work for themselves, and that just kind of changes then your perspective over time. And now, like I said, after 6 years, it's completely different. Our mentality is in a completely different place.
Yeah. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next video.